Heyo! May 7th was going great until I opened up my phone and saw, oh my gosh! Nintendo may not have unveiled the Switch 2 or given us any details about it, but the mere fact that they acknowledged it and said that it would be announced by March 2025 is more than enough to make me excited. Plus, Nintendo announced that there would be a Nintendo Direct in June. We haven't gotten a fully fledged Nintendo Direct since September of 2023, and we missed the Nintendo Direct that we usually get in the winter, so we're long overdue for one. Now, Nintendo may have said that this next Nintendo Direct won't have any Switch 2 related announcements, but it still got me thinking, what games would I love to see on the next console? So many doors would be opened up with a boost in hardware, and with a new console being released, it's a fresh start. What games would be a perfect use of that opportunity? Now, I'm not going to list any games that I'm 100% certain will come, like, I would bet my life savings that Nintendo's gonna release a new 3D Mario game on this console, so while I would obviously love to see that, it's just not very exciting to speculate about whether or not it's gonna happen since, I mean, come on, it's obviously gonna happen. This list is gonna cover games that very well could happen, but aren't a given, and they may not happen at all. Also, this list is nowhere near comprehensive. It's just a list of the first handful of games that came to my mind. I'm sure that the second I upload this video, I'll think of an entirely new list of games. First off, I would love to see a Xenoblade Chronicles X remaster or remake, maybe even a whole sequel. It's criminal that such a good game is still locked on the Wii U. The open world gameplay is so much fun, with the entire world open to you at any time. The game was revolutionary since no Nintendo game was that open up until that point. The graphics are also amazing even to this day. Xenoblade Chronicles X is one of the most visually impressive Nintendo games I've ever seen, especially for a Wii U game. If the game would be remastered or remade for the next Nintendo console, its biggest problem could finally be fixed: the loading times. Oh my gosh, the loading times! The game is so massive and so detailed that the Wii U struggles to load the game in a reasonable amount of time. They tried to fix the problem by releasing a patch to improve loading times, and although they did improve, they still weren't that good. On improved hardware, the game could load much faster, and maybe the textures and graphics could become even more detailed than they already are. Imagine the game running in 4K. That would be beautiful! With Xenoblade Chronicles 3 rounding out the Klaus saga, and with the DLC for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 making references to Xenoblade Chronicles X, it would be so good if Xenoblade Chronicles X was finally made available to more people and the game gets the attention that it deserves. Oh my goodness. It's such a good game. It deserves to be played by so many more people. Another remaster / remake I'd love to see is one of F-Zero GX, or simply a new F-Zero game. I mean, come on, Nintendo, you have such a huge backlog of franchises to choose from, you gotta take advantage of that! Now, in all honesty, I haven't played an F-Zero game before, but I have heard great things about the franchise and F-Zero GX specifically. The graphics in F-Zero GX seems to be going for a realistic style at the time, so imagine new and improved graphics taking advantage of the new console's hardware. That would be awesome! That's not the only GameCube game that should be brought over to the next Nintendo console. With a new Nintendo console, it's a perfect opportunity for Nintendo to expand the Nintendo Switch Online service. Like I said, Nintendo has such a huge backlog of franchises that plenty of people haven't had the opportunity to try, and expanding upon the online service by adding more consoles would be a great way to solve that. I believe that the online service can become Nintendo's version of Xbox Game Pass, only instead of brand new blockbuster releases, people have access to most of Nintendo's older games. Adding the GameCube would be a great start, and it would be pretty cool if they could add the Wii too. Mario 3D All-Stars proved that the Switch can run the emulators for those consoles, it's really only a matter of whether or not Nintendo chooses to use them. The Wii and the GameCube alone would add so much content to the online service, and that would make it even more worth the $50 price for the expansion pack. Now, this next game is from a franchise that isn't the most well-known or the most popular, but I think is equally deserving of a new entry on this next Nintendo console. And that series is Pilotwings. All of the Pilotwings games have been launch titles for their respective consoles, so I think a new Pilotwings game would make a great launch title for the next Nintendo console, and obviously would be a perfect time to launch the game. I would play the Island Flyover mode in Wii Sports Resort over and over again, and it was a lot of fun to me. So naturally, I enjoyed Pilotwings Resort when I finally got my hands on it. It was the last Pilotwings game that we got, and although it was lacking in content for a full-fledged release, the gameplay was still solid. If the content is expanded upon on and maybe there are some more tweaks made to the gameplay, I think it would make for an amazing game. Maybe they could even switch the location of the new game to Spaco Square or something in order to match the Nintendo Switch Sports game. I think there's a lot of untapped potential in the Pilotwings franchise, and what better time to release a new game in the series than with the launch of a new Nintendo console. Speaking of games that need to make a comeback, I would love, and I mean love, to see some form of StreetPass come back on the next Nintendo console. I was actually a little disappointed when I found out that StreetPass wouldn't be making its way over to the Switch. With one of the main selling points of the Switch being that you can take it anywhere you want and play your games anywhere you want, I figured that they'd put StreetPass on it to incentivize people to take advantage of the console's portability. With plenty of gaming handhelds coming out nowadays, I think that putting StreetPass on the next Nintendo console would be a great way to set it apart from the competition. I had so much fun bringing my 3DS everywhere and trying to get a StreetPass with people. The music was great, the minigames were fun, and it added a charm to the 3DS that hasn't been replicated anywhere else. It also made me feel more connected with the Nintendo community, more so than I've been with any other gaming community. If Nintendo were to make a new StreetPass game with brand new minigames and features, I think the community would be brought together more than it ever has been, and that sense of community would create a charm for the Switch 2 that no other console really has. I'm not only looking for first-party games though. The Nintendo Switch made great strides towards better third-party support after the disaster of the Wii U, but there's definitely still work to be done. With such a huge difference between the power of the Switch and the power of the other consoles on the market, plenty of developers are caught between a rock and a hard place. They can't use all the power of the Series X and the PS5 without making the game near impossible to run on the Switch. That's why the Switch, despite its massive success, is missing out on a lot of third-party releases. Plenty of big releases, such as yearly sports games like Madden, miss the Switch entirely, and the games that do make it, like MLB The Show, are pretty rough. It's missing big third-party releases like the Call of Duty games, and although Microsoft agreed to bring over new Call of Duty games with the same content as all other platforms, the processing power of the Switch certainly won't be doing the developers any favors. With the increased power of Nintendo's next console, hopefully that problem will at least somewhat be solved, and the door will be opened to plenty more third-party releases. One of those releases that I would love to see is GTA 5. It's honestly surprising to me that GTA 5 never got ported over to the Switch. The game was originally on the Xbox 360. You'd think it would be able to run on the Switch, but that's not necessarily the case. The only GTA game we've gotten for the Switch is GTA The Trilogy Definitive Edition, which didn't work out so well. There's a good reason for the lack of a GTA 5 port too, because that wouldn't work out so well either. The hardware of the Switch simply can't handle it. Modders ran GTA 5 on the Switch, and it was rough to say the least. With the boost in performance from Nintendo's next console, I'm confident that GTA 5 would run well. GTA 6 will be coming out sometime in the future, and I highly doubt that would be able to run on Nintendo's next console. So I think that adding GTA 5 would be a great way to satisfy those itching for a GTA game. I've played a ton of GTA 5, and I think it's the perfect game to play on the go, especially for those moments when you're just mindlessly roaming around the map. You can pick it up and play it whenever. Another big third-party release I'd love to see is Elden Ring. I'll be honest, I'm not one for difficult games, and I haven't tried a Souls-like before, but I'd like to start with Elden Ring sometime. I've heard great things about the game, and it won Game of the Year in 2022, so the quality of the game is definitely not in doubt. And I could just get it for my PS5 or my Xbox Series X, but I feel like Elden Ring would be an awesome game to play on the go. And overall, I think that big open-world games are perfect for handhelds, since you can pick them up at any time and just explore the worlds when you have a little downtime. The Like a Dragon / Yakuza games would be perfect on the next Nintendo console for that very reason. The processing power of the next Nintendo console should definitely be able to handle the latest games in the series, like Infinite Wealth and The Man Who Erased His Name, since those games were released on the Xbox One and the PS4. Those games are bursting at the seams with content. There are plenty of little secrets and side quests you can find while exploring the world. It would be a perfect game to play on the go. But it seems like RGG Studio doesn't quite agree with that. Not yet, at least. In September of 2022, the head of RGG Studio said that it's kind of a system for a younger audience. It's how we picture it in Japan anyway, for kids. He did say, though, that the perception of the Switch is changing, and maybe because of that, one day we will put it out on the Switch. Yakuza 1 and 2 were ported to the Wii U, and I think that console gives off way more for kids vibes than the Switch, so I don't really understand his reasoning there, but hey, a brand new console is a fresh start, and maybe, just maybe, the perception of this new console is good enough for RGG Studio to finally bring their games over. And I really hope so. The Yakuza games are amazing. and I would love for as many people as possible to get the opportunity to try them. Another amazing pick up and play at any time kind of game is Skate 3. So I'm hoping that when Skate 4 finally releases, it gets ported over to the next Nintendo console. There's going to be a mobile version of the game, so honestly, it's not really a matter of whether or not the game can run on the console, but rather it's a matter of whether or not the developers actually want to bring it over. And I really hope they do. I play Skate 3 all the time on my Xbox, and it's the perfect game to pick up and play when I have a little bit of free time. It's a game that I never get bored of. It takes great advantage of the Xbox Series X's quick resume feature, because I'll turn on my console, start a couple updates or downloads in the background, and then I'll use quick resume to head straight into my game and play Skate 3 for a little while I wait for everything to download. It's really convenient. All in all, I'm optimistic about the next Nintendo console. The Switch has been a huge success for Nintendo and has brought us plenty of timeless classics. There's no doubt in my mind that Nintendo has learned from the mistakes they made with the Wii U, and they're only going to move up. I truly believe that Nintendo will keep up the momentum they got on the Switch with their next console. With improved specs, even more opportunities will open up for developers to bring their games over. The future is looking bright, and I cannot wait to see what it brings.